G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is Alexis Sirkia, captain of Yellow Network, the Layer 3 mesh network in SDK that unifies fragmented liquidity, simplifies dApp development, and improves UX for crypto users and crypto builders. An original OG market maker for Ethereum and Ripple, Alexis is passionate about interoperability and crypto breaking free from the silos and clunky user interfaces of the past. We are really excited to talk with Alexis about the state of crypto today, what we need to move beyond traditional cycles of boom and bust, and whether this year, 2026, is finally the year crypto reaches maturity. Let's dive in. How did you end up being the captain of Yellow Network and living at sea with your family on a boat? How did that all come about?
Well, the title captain, so I had an interview from Forbes, and they were not very comfortable with the title captain. They said it's not very standard. We should put chairman. But I said, yeah, you can only be chairman of a company, but you're not chairman of your community. And something about crypto and decentralized projects is that we're not building this together, but we still want to have someone leading the community and the community effort. And I found that the title captain was actually more suited for this hybrid of, okay, I'm the chairman of Yellow Group, but I'm also the leader of this community, and this captain title really englobes a community leader and a chairman of a company. And I think for many crypto projects, it's a good title. The captain gives orders in a boat, and people have to follow him. But the captain doesn't run the boat by himself. He's not the helmsman. He's not the one putting the sails. And so I am captain as well. I'm a captain, and we live in a boat most of the time, and we've sailed almost all around the world. We started in Europe, and we crossed the Atlantic and the Pacific, and we've had really big storms and crazy seas, and we have been humbled by nature. You feel like you're so insignificant compared to storm and 10-meter waves. And when you're there in the middle of the ocean, you you see, okay, we're really nothing compared to the power of nature and the world. And it's very humbling, and it's very grounding, and it really puts it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars you have, you're still not gonna make it. It's like when you're in an airplane, it doesn't matter if you're first class or economy.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna die if the airplane goes down. So it's something that makes you realize the importance of things in life, the importance of people, the importance of family, and where that stands, and the importance of nature and preserving our world as well. When you live in the sea, you really feel grateful for everything that the sea gives you. And so yeah, we crossed the Atlantic, the Pacific Ocean. We did all the islands, and now the boat is in Indonesia near Bali.
That's amazing. Is that a forever or foreseeable future endeavor, or is this just a little adventure? Or it's not little, can't even call it little. It's been a huge adventure so far.
Yeah, so we started with all the kids on board. We had 5 kids on board, and it just became during COVID, it was perfect because they were studying online, and it was much more convenient to be on the boat. But after COVID, the older ones, they had difficulty following, and it's not the same a classroom environment. And when you want to go to a good university, so my 3 elder went to boarding school later on, and I just stayed with the smaller ones. But the smaller ones, after some time as well, they wanted to go to school. So it's very difficult to live in a boat and travel the sea and give the right education to your kids all year round. It's very difficult to and kids also need this friends and environment, and they meet other boats and they meet other people, but it's not the same. You can't create long lasting bonds because you're seeing other kids all the time. So I think it's important for kids to go to school when they reach a certain age, like 7 years old. So now two of them have moved to school, and we will only be continuing on the summers and vacations, and me sometimes by myself. But yeah, so it's very difficult to have a family. But until they're 7 years old, it's an amazing experience that I would recommend anybody. It's such a big bond, and they see all these cultures. My daughter was in the sea, sorry, in French Polynesia, and she was with all the other kids in French Polynesia in in high school, and it was an amazing experience to see her like grow up in French Polynesia and to go to school with all the other kids and discover all the other cultures. And this is not only French Polynesia. My other kids were playing football in Cape Verde, barefoot with the local kids, understanding the importance of what they have. It's every single culture has added so much to their life and to their adventure. And eventually, he wrote about this. My older son, that is a captain, and he was accepted to a good University of Chicago, a good school for economics that he's very happy with, and amazing. So I would 100% recommend this experience to any family with kids less than 7 years old.
That sounds amazing. I mean, I do want to get to yellow as well and talk about that some more. But also want to. I'm wondering, like, I know especially in the COVID and post-COVID era, lots of people, like individuals, but certainly families, are doing that itinerant kind of traveling, working as a go. What inspired you to do that, but with a boat and not just traveling around, in an airplane?
Well, I was in another lockdown. This one in Taiwan. We were having a kid, and I was in lockdown. And then I was watching YouTube, and I saw this family that had been sailing for like 6, 7 years, and the kids were so bonded, and they were really acting as a family. And my kids, they all had their friends and from their class, and they were not really bonded as a family, and they were just doing their devices and everything. And I thought, wow, if we could get this for our family, and also we could leave the freedom. So like in 2021, in the start of COVID, we bought the boat, and we decided to leave towards the sea, and live the life not closed in our apartment like everybody else, almost everybody else in the world, but uh, with the freedom of the sea. And when you're in the middle of an island that is almost uninhabited, there's no COVID restrictions, there's no rules.
Sure.
So it it was a great experience, and it was the right time to do it. And it meant that I could also take the whole family and create a bonding experience between all the kids, so that it would put the family more united and together. So yeah, that was the reason that it was. I did it because it was a great experience for me and for the whole family, and it was just better than staying confined. Like who would
Amazing.
use that?
That's amazing. So you call yourself the captain, you mentioned, of Yellow Network, and I love how you pointed out this is what a captain is not. Not a solo out there by themselves, pulling all the levers, running all the show, in every room or in every role. It strikes me though, even as you were saying that, it kind of hits me that from companies and organizations all the way up even to presidents, we expect like the number one person to know everything, have a full command over the entire ship. If we can continue with the analogy, how do you find?
Yeah.
Do you get that expectation from your stakeholders and from your community, or is the community such that they understand? Oh, we are a team. We'll operate as a team, and where as a captain, I need to understand, have a working knowledge of everything that's happening. But this woman is the expert in this place, and this man is running this show over here. How do you find that is received in kind of our era of the president or the chairperson or the CEO or the captain is the one who should know everything about everything?
Steve Jobs, what is the best product or the best thing you you developed? And his answer was the team, and then he mentioned the team members that I can't remember. But that was Ivy. I think one was Ivy, the one that did like some, uh, you know, and so he mentioned all his team and everything. And this was the best thing. Everybody thought he was going to answer the iPod or the iPhone or the iMac or whatever, but it was, or the Macintosh, but it was his team. And I think we have accomplished the same thing. And I was inspired by that phrase. Two people told me. One was well, he didn't tell me. He told the community, but the other person told me personally. And this is a Spanish billionaire, Manel Lau. He founded this casino empire, and I was lucky to be with him. A couple times, we went to the same fasting clinic, and we were in the sauna, and he had 250 companies. And I said, how do you do it? I said, oh, I hire really good people, and I pay them well, and I rely on them. And he didn't really have an education. He's Gitano, how this is called. He's a Roma, uh, and he's the richest Roma in the world, so he's very happy, But he's an example to the Roma community as well. But he didn't manage to get an education because they were on the road or whatever. But he managed to build his empire, and how he did it was he hired really good people, and he gave them the authority, and he said he paid them really well. So we tried to do the same thing at Yellow. We hired. Well, our team was really, I think our initial team was already really good, and with experiences from the exchange sector and experiences from the market making sector. My previous company I co-founded, GSR, is today one of the biggest or the biggest market maker in the crypto space. And the exchange software that was being built by Openware, which we partner with to create Yellow. Uh, they had in like 2019 or something like 50% of market share of all exchanges being built. So we had this experience from the two sides to really understand the trading economy in crypto and how it works. And when we decided to do our project, which was initially only a clearinghouse, we now have hired like some of the best in the industry for every single role. So to build the protocol layer, we have the CTO of Cosmos that joined us to build the Yellow SDK. uh, Cosmos is used by like Binance Smart Chain and whatever. So the guy that built this is now building the Yellow SDK. The CTO of the Bybit, they have two CTOs, the regulated and non-regulated. So one of the Bybit CTOs, he joined us to build the trading infrastructure layer that the whole community can plug in to do their own broker. So the CTO of Bybit and M2 in Dubai, two amazing exchanges. I think Bybit is number 2 in the world now. He's doing the infrastructure layer for Yellow. Our communications, our CMO comes from Polkadot. She was managing Gavin Wood and Parity Technologies and everybody. So we hired her. Our chief evangelist was evangelizing at Ripple 12 years ago already. So he's a veteran in the crypto space. So Steven Zeiler joined us from he was one of the early Ripple employees when they were only just a handful of employees in Ripple, and he was the one evangelizing, making videos for the community to adopt Ripple. And a not very well known story is that he was pushing for smart contracts in Ripple, but before Ethereum even happened. Uh, but uh, but that didn't happen anyway. So him and Stefan were pushing, but that didn't happen, and it only happened like 10 years later. But he was the community person at Ripple, and he stayed there 2 or 3 years, 2012, 13, 14, or something like that, and or 13, 14, 15, yeah. But now he's with us, and he's our chief evangelist. He's telling the community of developers why it's so cool to build with the Yellow SDK, and he thinks it's amazing. And I think there's like so many others from Bybit, from even from Tron in China. So, and this guy joined us because he said, "You're the only ones that are building something for real that the community is going to." And he, so this guy also joined us. I think we have an amazing team from so many horizons, from the trading to the infrastructure to the protocol layer. In every single layer, we have I think the most, from the tech perspective and the communications perspective, the most amazing team in the space, and this is uh, this is what we have built. So Yellow is a team effort. My mission is to speak with them and keep them all in sync. But it's them that is building what we're building. I'm just giving the directions of where we're going, and making sure we go in the right direction, and making sure we have enough money to build, as a CEO, making sure we have enough money to build what needs to be built, and trying to to negotiate, just to make sure that we spend all the money for this project. So yeah, that's my role. And it's just the glue that is putting the team together, but really the team is the one doing the work, just like in a boat.
Yeah, man, sounds like an awesome team too. So, Alexis, how do you
Yep.
go from being, like you mentioned it with GSR, at the top of the top of the game, really, in terms of market making, which for many is a bit of a dark art, and I don't mean that pejoratively. I mean people just
Yeah.
don't understand how it works,
No,
but it's everywhere. How do you go from that to seeing the gap or the hole or the need in the market for something like Yellow? How did that happen?
Yeah. So, there's a few elements, like when we are trading, and we become one of the biggest traders, and we're trading significantly, and we're trading centralized. And centralized is not a bad thing per se, but the thing that Satoshi teaches us is that you can do things without trusting the counterparty. Okay, you can have money without trusting the government, and you can transfer that value without trusting banks. And Ethereum extends that. You can run contracts. You can execute contracts, like pay somebody every month, without trusting HR to do that payment. You can trust a computer to to pay that person. And if things go wrong, you don't need a judge. You can trust a smart contract to arbitrate. So we have all these know-how of, like, why there is a different way to do things without people. And it's trust. And when we're trading, we're still needing to trust the counterparty, which is the exchange. And exchanges are really important stakeholders in the crypto economy. And I'm not saying that they're not needed, but would there not be a way to trade against the exchange without needing to trust the exchange, where everybody is happier? And that is the problem we were trying to solve. We were trying to solve Satoshi's vision for trading. And when we solved it, we realized, actually, we have solved it for a number of use cases that is not only trading. We have solved peer-to-peer trustlessness, two parties interacting with each other without trusting each other. So without the need for a third party component. So the very, very specific thing about trading that was not being done with blockchain is that in blockchain you need like 10, 20, or even 30,000 or even 900,000 computers supervising transactions. Okay? So you can understand, and from the computer science perspective, or like from the philosophy perspective, it's easy to understand that if you have 30 people supervising what you're doing, 21 people supervising what you're doing, or even like this delegated proof of stakes, or if you have like 30,000 computers, like Bitcoin or whatever, it's not going to be so efficient. It just cannot be, because there is a distribution layer. So in distributed databases. To replicate things takes time, so you lose efficiency. And there is so you lose efficiency from the replication, you lose efficiency from the control of these computers supervising third-party transactions. And we thought, how can we do this? How can me and you do business with each other without trusting each other? How can a bank, now I'm talking real world, trade with an exchange without trusting the exchange? And this is the real use case that we're solving. And the problem is a new paradigm of trustlessness, which is the goal. Trustlessness was always the goal of Satoshi, not decentralization. Decentralization, which we all talk about, is a means to the goal, but the goal is trustlessness. So how can we solve trustlessness? How can I do business with you without trusting you? And it's so important. It's so important because trust is the limiting factor in business. You can only do business with the people you trust. If I could do business with the people I don't trust, I could get a cheaper price. Newcomers, like new businesses and the entrepreneurs you're talking about, could compete with big Goliaths that are trusted. The IBMs of today's world. But it's so difficult to compete with these PwC, whatever, if you're a small accountant, because they are the trusted one. So trust is a limiting factor for business, for innovation, for growth, for so many things. We think it's a good thing, but really it limits what we are. So what we invented, and it's an invention, is how to do business between two people. So we both how do you say, escrow funds, okay? And we start doing business. Let's say we're in the business of trading, like this bank with this exchange. And then I buy a Bitcoin for $100,000, and the price goes up $5,000. Thanks to state channel technology, which is an evolution of Lightning Network, remember this streaming Bitcoin, we can transfer the profits and losses instantly between the two parties. Okay, so for example, if Bitcoin goes to $105,000, $5,000 from the escrow is sent instantly to me. So a claim for $5,000 is sent instantly to me, and we have the state channels. And if you decide to close a market, just like Liquid did, it doesn't matter because the profit is already with me. So when the broker, the exchange, decides to close a market or to close shop or is hacked, it doesn't matter because my profits are already with me, and then the smart contract will intervene. But the smart contract will only intervene in the end. And how does it work? This peer-to-peer, how can we make it peer-to-peer without the supervision of 30,000 computers? That's the cool thing about state channels. So I buy a Bitcoin for you for $100,000, and we both cryptographically sign. And I keep your signature that you agreed to this transaction. And then I buy $4,000 worth of Ethereum. I buy one Ethereum for $4,000. And we both cryptographically sign. And we can do even millions of transactions, and we cryptographically agree between each other's. And I have your cryptographic signature, which cannot be faked. I don't need to use that cryptographic signature if everything is going smoothly. Okay, I'm only going to use it to settle on the end, to see how many dollars I need to send you and how much crypto you need to send me. So this peer-to-peer trustlessness and this peer-to-peer way of doing business is what happens in the real world. When you go to a grocery store, you buy bananas, tomatoes, whatever, but you don't pay bananas, you don't pay your tomatoes. It's not settled. So you have an invoice with all your items, and then you pay for it. And then you say, no, I only had 3 tomatoes, but you're charging me 2. But you have there the fact, you have your bag, you can see the 3 tomatoes. So there is a proof of how many tomatoes you have if it's disputed. So it's the same thing. We only do in the real world, I would say almost all business is first done at the invoice level, peer to peer, without the need of a third party. And only when you get to the settlement time, then you settle for the whole invoiced amount. And this is what we solve with State Channel. And This is the second problem we're fixing, because in the Web3 vision of Gavin Wood, like 2014, he describes how everything is going to be run independently by smart contracts. And that's a really cool thing that is like liberating us people. We are delegating things to be run by computers. And I'll explain the problem later on. But the problem with that is that in Gavin's vision, what is, and this first layer of business that is done peer to peer is what we're bringing to the Web3 ecosystem. So we're bringing this Web3 peer to peer trustlessness, and that's the developing real world businesses with the Yellow SDK and with the blockchain of their choice. Because we're like blockchain agnostic, we're just a way to do business between peers. We are not using a blockchain, we're using state channels, which is likely networks on any blockchain, Ethereum compatible or not. And that's what's so amazing about what we're doing. And we have like 250 projects already working on using state channels for gaming and trading and doing all these sorts of things. And the thing that we're building is so cool, which is the reason why all these amazing people joined. Yeah, so that's the story of Yala and what we're fixing. Not sure if I went on too long.
No, man, that is amazing. Even things like for people who don't understand what you mean when you say state channels, or don't understand even broadly a concept of a mesh network or anything like this. How does that? You say you're building on a blockchain. How are those things different?
Yeah. Okay. So a way to think about state channels is like blockchain 2.0. Okay, a state channel is so you have like three technologies. You have like zk rollups, you have blockchain, and you have like state channels. And state channels is just a communication between you and me. Okay, we open a channel of communication between two parties, and of course there is no speed limit by the protocol, because it's just whatever speed you and me can accomplish between each other. So there's no speed limit, and but with each other. But then we can agree cryptographically to every item that we buy or sell from each other, or we decide to swap or whatever. So state channels is not like blockchain, which is like three parties. There's me, you, and the blockchain. So state channels is just two people, and it has some things that it can do better and some things that it cannot do better. It's not there to arbitrate, it's not there to settle. State channels are there to have a clean channel of communication between two parties that are really fast, and where everything is cryptographically proofed, and the two parties are keeping this cryptographic proof. And this is very, very efficient. It's this cryptographic proof doesn't need to be stored in a ledger, because, for example, when you go buy something, the tax authority just cares about the total amount to apply they don't care exactly how many lemons or how many grapes you're buying. They just want to know the total amount, and they're going to apply uh, their sales tax or their VAT on top of that amount. So the third parties shouldn't care about the details of your business, and it wouldn't be efficient for the tax authority to see how many grapes you're buying or how many whatever you're buying, unless they're trying to avoid fraud. But so for certain third party things, it's just not efficient to store everything in a ledger, and most of the business can be done off chain. It's somehow off chain. It's cryptographically secure, but it's off chain. Okay, so we shouldn't confuse the two terms. I have the proof. I don't need to. If there's no problem, I don't need to show the whole world this proof. Just like when we're doing business in the real world, the business stays between you and me, and only if we have a problem with each other do we take our proof and we take it to a judge who's going to arbitrate who's right, who's wrong, and it's going to distribute whatever amount. So keeping this proof private is something that it just makes sense from the business perspective. So that's the big difference between blockchain and state channels. Is blockchain is for three or more participants. It's a better solution. And state channels is really for two participants. Really, you can have three-way state channels, but it's meant like for two participants interacting with each other, where they keep their business private and they only publish it on a ledger when it's time to settle or when it's time to arbitrate. That's a big difference.
So who you're building it for? Like what is kind of the ideal user, or who is the ideal user of your SDK or of Yellow Network?
Okay, so it's one of the things that really. Now I'm going to go to the problems that I was going to answer before. Like, why is it difficult for people to adopt blockchain? And why is it difficult for banks to adopt crypto? And I think it's the question of delegating trust to a computer. Okay, and there's as a captain, going back to a captain, when I was crossing the Panama Canal, you get a pilot on board, and usually the captain is the highest on the boat, except when there's a pilot on board. When there's a pilot on board, the captain has to obey the pilot, okay? Because also the insurance of the Panama Canal is paying if something goes wrong, and the pilot is the one in charge. This is about sailing. So as a software engineer, I had programmed the autopilot to go exactly through the Panama Canal, and it's like really small, but it's really thin, like you really have to nail it. So, but you can, in your chart plotter, you can really put all the points in the map exactly where you want your boat to go, and the autopilot will do it way better than you. And and I had put this, and the pilot said, "No, no, you have to hold your. Are you crazy? You have to hold your the helm. You have to hold the helm with your hands. You can't have the autopilot. This is like really important. It's like you can't." So the pilot didn't trust the computer to do the job, and I told him, "Look, in my previous job, when I worked in the space industry, my colleagues at my company were building the ATV, the automatic transfer vehicle, which is connecting to the International Space Station. The International Space Station is moving at 28,000 kilometers per hour. And can you imagine going behind the car and 100 kilometers per hour and trying to stay like 1 meter apart and then 10 centimeters apart and not banging into the car? It was only the cream of the crop of the elite of astronauts that could do this maneuver to log in and to put this stick into this hole, to stick into the International Space Station. It took like months and months of training, and only the top pilots, only the top astronauts could do it. But this machine, they would my previous company, they programmed to do it, and it's not only going 28,000 kilometers, it's going up and down. Actually, it's oscillating, and you have to find the right oscillation and you have to find the right speed. It's a really difficult problem, and I explained this to the pilot, like how we had programmed the computer, and computers are better than humans, and only the cream of the crop could do this. And you see it with chess, you see it with everything. So computers can do things better than humans. And I showed him this. So he said, okay. So he trusted me after I explained him this story. He said, okay. I thought he wanted me to fail, but he trusted me, and we went through the Panama Canal. We went on the autopilot. I think I'm probably the only boat that went through with the autopilot on the Panama Canal, because pilots usually don't let you do this, and you have to like hold the helm. I went through it with the autopilot. I knew it was better than me because I had already tested it in really rough waters, But the autopilot just goes on the line exactly where you put it. It will go. It like moves the whole boat around. It's so good, And it's a human nature to not trust computers today, where we are today, because and these bankers that have had money they have been delegated, or we trust our bankers to take care of our money, and we have delegated them this trust for hundreds of years, like it's been, and it's their job. They don't trust computers to take care of money, so the big problem is bankers trusting computers to do the job, even though we can prove to them that computers can do a better job, and computers are not corruptible. Whatever we program into them is whatever we're going to get. Like uh, and it's good and bad, because sometimes if the program is wrong, it's always going to be wrong, the answer. But we saw it in the Bearings hack, where the middle manager made this Bearings bank, which is one of the oldest in the UK, bankrupt. And it was this corruption of the guy in the middle that was writing things on a ledger and putting. So this wouldn't have happened with blockchain. This wouldn't have happened with crypto. If we would have delegated this job to a blockchain, this could not have happened, because the blockchain is not corruptible. So we see it all the time, but bankers still have a really difficult time and I forgot what the question was. I just wanted to explain like why bankers and why have such a difficult but it's our mission. It's our mission at Yellow to educate people, to educate bankers, to just like we educated this pilot and captains, that autopilots can do a good job. We can educate them that blockchain, really, they can trust their money and it's not going to go anywhere. And whatever we program into those smart contracts is going to happen. We just have to be careful about what we program, and we have to double check, do all these security audits, make sure it's like safe. But once we delegate the job to a computer, it's going to do this job, and it can do it better than us and in a non-corruptible way. Because like it's like things in life, like your kid has cancer, you have access to funds, it's priorities in life. Of course, it's your kids, who can blame anybody for stealing if it's to save his kid or whatever, but computers don't have any feelings. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but they will not be corruptible under any circumstances. And any human being, myself included, would be corruptible, because I wouldn't mind going to jail all my life if it was to save the life of my kids. So any human being is corruptible, including myself, and anybody that says he isn't is just a hypocrite. Uh, but computers, no. Computers, we can trust them, and they're going to do the job. They're not corruptible. They're going to take good care of the money and the value, and this internet of value that we have created and developed at Yellow. I think it's going to be the new way of moving money around through the internet.
Yeah, man. I mean, with your background in market making, you have to trust the algorithm at some stage, don't you? With the kind of quantities of value that you'd be moving every single day, you got to have a lot of trust in the computers and the algorithms that you're developing there. How do you think? Is it just a factor for those institutions and banks that are skeptical? Is it because I'm just trying to think about the reason why? Is it just incumbency? People are afraid of losing their jobs. Do you think it's a legitimate fear of this? Because you'd think that if they understood or could see the evidence that the computer could do their job better, they could look like heroes to their clients, to their bosses. They could make more money. They could be more efficient, etc. I'm just wondering if is it a human barrier, or is it a vision barrier? Let's say, do they not see that it could be better for them, or are they fearful that it will actually do better than them and thus make them obsolete? What do you think is what's the real barrier here?
There might be a minority that is thinking that it will make him obsolete, but I really think it's a question of trust and not believing it until you see it. And it happened with neobanks, for example. Like you see all these neobanks, these Revoluts, whatever. They were newcomers to this space. It's they weren't bankers. You needed fintechs to teach them that this is a better way to access retail, and all these TransferWise, Revolut, N26. They were built by people And now, once they have shown and they have acquired millions and millions of users and market share, now all these traditional banks are doing these neobanks as well, and they're getting into the game. But it required an outside player to show them that there was a better way of doing things, that people don't need to go to the office to take care of their money. They're happy to do it through the phone, you know, and it's just education. And but the promise of Web3, this is Gavin Wood's promise, is that it's going to be liberating for entrepreneurs once we take that leap of faith and allow our computers to run our business. Just like Uniswap, Uniswap, if you think about it, there's not they do have a lot of employees, but the smart contract is running. Even if they close down Uniswap, that smart contract is still there, and people can build other front ends to that smart contract. That smart contract is going to be swapping value for as long as Ethereum exists. So as long as people are using it, and we have a front end that is run by a tech company, but really any company could build a front end to that Uniswap smart contract. So that's what's really cool about these smart contracts. That if you think about it, the promise is that entrepreneurs will be able to build these next unicorns with and be able to run them from the beach or from their sofa. They will run autonomously. You just have to put the work to build it, and once you deploy it on the cloud, it runs autonomously. And at least the protocol behind it, sometimes there's the business and customer service or graphicals or marketing, and of course that still needs some humans. But you see Hyperliquid, 11 employees, $100 million per employee, over $100 million per employee, the most ROE revenue, so RPE revenue per employee in the world, over $100 million of revenue per employee because it's running autonomously with their Hyperliquid infrastructure. And it's amazing. That's the future. That's the promise. The promise of the future is not that uh, we're going to need less. We're going to need less people, but every employee is going to be making so much money and so much revenue. So what do you prefer? 100,000 employees making $1,000, or 1,000 employees making $100,000? I go for like the Hyperliquid model where we run our companies autonomously or semi-autonomously. It's not autonomously yet, but semi-autonomously by computers and smart contracts, and those are the ones running our companies, like in Amazon, where you don't need a central player to make sure that the seller is sending the things to the buyer. Okay, you have contracts and AI supervising and smart contracts freeing the money once the product is received. But instead of having people, you have AIs supervising. I think a world run by computers is not necessarily a worse world. We saw it in the Industrial Revolution when we had machines to do the hard work. It just means that we can focus as humans in things that are more important, like preservation of our planet or taking care of our families, enjoying our loved ones, and doing things that are more fulfilling than things that can do a computer can do. Because if a computer can do it, why is it so fulfilling? Or what's really, really cool, going back to this, is with China, we lost a lot of, with China and the in economic revolution, we lost a lot of the craftsmanship that was traditional to China. China for millennia had these like beautiful ceramics and everything, but with the revolution of communism and everything, where they focused on building a lot of cheap units so everybody could enjoy this porcelain, we lost, unfortunately, this craftsmanship. But this craftsmanship has been coming back in the last 10, 15 years, and now you see people doing really beautiful ceramics from scratch. They go to the river, they grind the stone, they chalk everything from scratch. They do it in an oven, and so he's doing these ceramics which are beautiful compared to mass production, but they also have a human element that we do it because we can, you know. Now we don't need to, but we can, and that's why we do it. I have a Chinese watch which has like this is you can't really see it in the camera, but it has this guilloche, and it's like it takes like one day to build this like very very fine dial, you know, and it's made in China. And the cool thing is that it's proudly made in China. It's the new made in China. It's the proudly made in China. And I think that human beings, we will be able, once we are liberated from computers, just like when the revolution of tools liberated the human beings from hard work, we will be able to focus on things we really enjoy, like doing leather goods, doing things by hand, if we want. You know, that's an option, and people will value your time. And people buy those ceramics because they value the time and effort that person has put, and they understand the human element. And those ceramics are going just like those ceramics that were like millennia old that only some people could afford. The people are valuing them. People are valuing effort, and it's this guy from a Swiss watchmaker says that it doesn't make any sense to have mechanic watches anymore since the 80s, since the advance of quartz, you know. But we still appreciate them and we value them, and you know, it's still mechanical watches. So it's not because it's complicated or difficult or made by humans that we don't value them. We This will be the new economy of the future, an economy where we have everything run by computers and where people can afford can afford anything. And if you want something more exclusive, there will be people that are enjoy putting this effort and work, and you will always also be able to acquire one. I don't think human labor will be and the same for value. Computers will take care of value, but if you still want, you know, your private banker to give you, like, you know, enjoy your coffee together and give you advice, and and so I think it's going to be a hybrid of the two, and it's going to be a very interesting hybrid, because when computers run everything and the price goes down to just the cost of the computer running, it's going to be an amazing days ahead.
Yeah, man, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but whenever it's almost invariably a Chinese craftsman making paper or pottery or some sort of calligraphy or something. It's just, there's 10 minutes gone for me because it is beautiful. And like you say, there's something about not just the pursuit of beauty, but to participate in making something beautiful that I think is particularly human, and perhaps something that we've really forgotten about just as a race, as humans, forgotten about. And there are people who are still doing it, obviously, but for many people, we're really kind of caught in the machine of production rather than, you know, producing meaning or producing beauty. So I like that kind of the painting of the future that you're putting together there with regard to, you know, if we can get to it's not a post-compute age, because that's still a foundation that's kind of running a lot of the stuff that perhaps prevents or takes up a lot of our time that's, you know, used in producing stuff rather than producing meaning. And man, I think that's a worthwhile future to pursue. Who do you think for Yellow, you know, in participating in that future, what do you think is the low hanging fruit in terms of people building on or with Yellow? What are some of the kind of the easy, the first things that should get made and could get made where people can do something meaningful, make money, make people's lives easier, make business better? What are kind of the first things you see already being made or that you hope get made?
So in 2017, I saw an LLM for the first time, an AI LLM, and it was analyzing the 2017. It was analyzing a book of the Le Petit Prince, and you could ask it questions about the book, and it really knew everything. And if it didn't understand the question, it asked you a question back, and I thought, oh wow. this is gonna be amazing. Like it blew my mind of the power of language models, and we see it today with ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude, and all these language models. You see the power, once you apply it to everything. So about a month ago, I saw one of the demos of Yellow that is up there that Steven did, and he clicked a button in a third party web page, in a web page from this app developer that is using Yellow. He clicked a button, which is a demo to donate. Okay, it's like you donate 1 cent, one USD, 1 cent of USDC. When you click the button, instantly you click and it's boom, and it removes it from the wallet. And this button is integrated into the web page. Okay, so without realizing, we have invented an implementation for the Internet of Value. When I was studying software engineer in the 90s, we were studying HTTP, and there was this error code that is called 402, payment required. And Visa and MasterCard were working together with Netscape, the precursor of Firefox at the time. They were working together with Netscape, and they abandoned it. They couldn't implement it because they couldn't find a way to implement payments into the web. And today you have buttons like pay with Apple Pay or pay with Stripe, and sometimes, but actually those buttons, it's like a snippet of code that is external to the website. It's not integrated into your own web. It's what you call in HTML like an iframe. It looks like it's in the page, but it's actually an iframe that is in another website on centralized with either Shopify or Stripe. Stripe has a very popular one, or Apple. And when he paid, this button is part of the website, and he clicks on the button, and boom, the money is withdrawn instantly from the wallet. The integration is seamless. So I told Steven, we have fixed 402, payment required. This is the perfect implementation. This is the Internet of Value. You can move, you can go through any of the websites that is using Yellow, and it can get money in and out from your wallet, from the coins you have assigned on chain or off chain for this. It's crazy until you see it, but it's the Internet of Value. So when I saw it, I thought, and this is gonna be bigger than LLMs. This is going to be bigger than AI. I had this flashback of when I saw Le Petit Prince, and I saw, fuck, the internet. Sorry, I'm not sure about the algorithm. So, Doc, the the Internet of Value is bigger than AI, the AI revolution, and I only saw it for the first time like a month or two ago in one of the things. We can move the money value around the internet, and it's integrated seamlessly with the web page. If I like this interview with you, you could add a button here, and I could just click there, and it go directly from my wallet to you, or whatever. If I wanted to sponsor you, whatever, in the same website, that you can add buttons, but you can trade, you can play games, we're talking about moving value seamlessly, instantly, and free between participants that are in the internet. And then we're talking about AI agents. AI agents will need this. How can AI agents pay for things if they don't have access to payment rails? We're talking about Internet of Things, devices that your fridge, whatever, has to order for milk or whatever. So we're paying. It's crazy. I told Steven, this is going to be bigger than the AI revolution we're living on now, and I'm not sure if it's going to be Yellow. It was not this LLM that I saw was some Korean company. It wasn't OpenAI, so I'm not sure it's going to be us. But now that I've seen it, You cannot unsee it, and I know it's going to be huge, and it's going to be part of this AI and everything. Everything works together. Blockchain, AI, this internet of value, everything. But we are putting the blockchain on the internet. I guess that's a good way to define what Yellow does. Thanks to these state channels and to this technology, we are able to bring the blockchain to the internet, and from there to AI agents, Internet of Things, and people, and seamless. And it's crazy, but you have to see a demo to fully understand the implication of what it means to be able to just have a button, and you press on any website, on your website, and you press click, and it withdraws it from your wallet, the money to pay, or it deposits into your wallet. It's crazy, and this hasn't worked before. And Visa and MasterCard tried in the 90s, and they just abandoned it. And if you go to the Wikipedia page, 402 was never like successfully implemented. And now we have a possible implementation for 402 payment required to integrate it into the HTTP standard. So that's what I see. And I'm not sure it's going to be Yellow that is going to integrate it into the standard, because standards require all the companies coming together to agree on something. But, we have a great implementation, and I think, and it's free. So I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, man, I've never heard of that before. That's amazing. Kind of buried the lead on that one. So, I mean, it's possible that some of our viewers and listeners don't understand, because they're used to going to a website, seeing a button and pressing it, and then funds, eventually come out. But what we're saying is you're cutting out all of the intermediaries in that whole process.
Exactly.
And it's not a button that looks like it's a new website, but it's actually on someone else's back end. It's actually your button. That's actually amazing.
Yeah. And just like button, there's trading, there's gaming, there's real world assets, there's everything that is value, so anything that you can digitize into value, now we can transfer seamlessly between in the internet. I mean, I haven't really communicated about it. That's why it's the first time you hear it. I haven't really communicated, and this was like an opening experience I had when I saw what we had developed and the implications going back to this 402 payment required. But yeah, the people are going to use it, and they're not going to know they're using it in the future. That's what's so cool about it as well. When you're using Amazon and you pay with Amazon, you know that it's in the Amazon website or ecosystem, and it's centralized by Amazon, and you have previously put your credit card details in Amazon for all that to work. Here, you just have a wallet that is under your custody or somebody else's regulated custodian, whatever, and you are dealing directly with the people with that wallet, with the internet. You're dealing directly with that wallet, and this can be USDC, USDT. It's Yellow is just the infrastructure layer to make this work, but it's not the Yellow you're moving. It's any value, any RWA, anything. It's huge.
What do you think? If you're crystal balling for 2026, if that's one fearless forecast that's coming, what else do you see happening in crypto generally? What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping happens in the next year?
Complicated one. Well, on my side, I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to get as many developers join the ecosystem and build this future internet of value I just described. We need developers, just like the iPhone needs apps. What would an iPhone be without apps? It would be just a phone and maybe a browser. That's an app, but maybe a browser. But you need third-party developers to have a very valuable iPhone. Thanks to most of the apps on my iPhone are not from Apple. I have a few, but WhatsApp. Here I have WhatsApp, WeChat, Signal, Messenger, Skype, Zoom. And that's only the communication apps. I'm just reading them. It's so cool to have apps on your ecosystem, and that's my goal for now for 2026. But what I see for 2026 is the first year of real world adoption that we haven't really had. We haven't had really apps until today where people are using crypto or crypto infrastructure without them knowing. There is some of it, there is some, but it's more like experiments and it's not like a mainstream thing. I see 2026 as the year of real world adoption. Now that we have all the political backing, with that, now that we have like the industry backing, now even banks are getting into it. So now that all the industries are okay, we're going to trust computers with value. You know, I see the first year of real world apps in different industries that will be using crypto behind the scenes without people knowing. That's what I mean by real world adoption. Nobody cares about the database you're using when you're like getting some benefits from your social security. They're storing all the data from all the people in the country. It's probably Oracle. But do you think that the grandmother that is going to get her benefits check or whatever cares if it's Oracle or whatever? No, it just works. And that's how crypto should be. And that's how crypto infrastructure should be. It should be transparent for the end user and seamless.
Alexis, man, there are so many threads I would love to pull on some of the things we've spoken about today. But the question we love to ask last is: doesn't have to be a controversial perspective, but do you have any particularly contrarian perspectives where most people think one particular way, but you're convinced of another way, or most people think we're headed this direction, but you actually think we're going in a different direction?
I do want to have one, and it's a critic to the industry. How many unicorns in the real world are created from scratch as a unicorn? How many startups are creating as a unicorn from scratch? Well, it's just a handful. You have XAI because Elon Musk put billions of dollars. Jets.com that had like billions of dollars of investment to buy airplane jets, but it's really the minority of startups that are unicorns. That's when they start. And Bitcoin and Ethereum, they grew organically. So Bitcoin, it grew organically, and the whole network was just worth $50, then $100, then thousands of dollars, then millions of dollars, and this is healthy. And Ethereum more or less grew in the same way, even though there was a pre-sale, and I think there raised a few millions of dollars, but it was still reasonable numbers. And when they launched, they were worth millions of dollars, not $1 billion. And it took Ripple some time to reach $1 billion market cap, and even $1 billion fully diluted value took some time, because startups, on the day they are launched, they're not worth $1 billion. However, in crypto, because of the pressure from stakeholders like exchanges, or stakeholders like VCs, they expect your startup on the day you launch to be $1 billion.
Yeah.
And there's a problem with that, because crypto works because there is a balance between the speculative nature and the utility nature of the asset. Okay. So in the real world, you have Hermes bags that are collectible for some and some speculators because they appreciate in value. You have collectible cars, that are going to appreciate and you don't want to do any miles on them, like this Mercedes GT, whatever. And I went and I saw that it says, no, it's from 2023. It only has 30 miles. And I saw a Ferrari from 2018. It only had 40 kilometers, so you don't want to do any miles on your collectible car. But it has a value because it has a utility that people dream about, and some people actually take it and they do miles and they enjoy it. And it's this enjoyability that gives it a speculative value as well, and only some of them. And the same for Hermes. But with crypto, in things like Bitcoin, so you have Bitcoin miners that are mining because they have an incentive to mine because the Bitcoin is valuable. So there is speculators holding that that coin and making it valuable, but it's only valuable because the miners are agreeing to get paid with it, and when you agree, and they're only agreeing to mine and to secure the network because it has a value. Because if Bitcoin was zero, the miners would not be doing a job. So the value is a necessity for the utility. You can't have the utility without the value, and the same for Ethereum. It's only you only stake 32 Ethereum to get more Ethereum because it has a value if it didn't have a value. So it's a very delicate balance between utility and speculative nature of crypto. And it's a very, very delicate balance. But when coins are launching today, I find myself a lot of friction with the industry because they want me to launch the coin at $1 billion without necessarily having the utility to back up that $1 billion of utility. And even the
Yep.
top 200 coins, they have like fully diluted values of over $1 billion. It doesn't make sense. No startup has the utility. And that's why the price goes down, because when the market the price goes into the market and those coins go down 99%, and it might be the market makers that are extracting a lot of that value early, but the reality is that the market is thinking that that coin is worth piece of shit because it, of course, it's not worth $1 billion. It's worth whatever amount the market thinks it's worth, and
Yeah.
no hype. So it's all hype. It's all just so as somebody that has been long in the industry, I see today's the pressure of exchanges and everything trying to reward and getting free money out of trees without building ground solid foundations. This is my contrarian view to the industry. I think all projects should launch with fair launches or whatever, and that their growth should be the speculative growth should grow in synergy with the utility growth of the project. And if that happened, well, there wouldn't be all these rug pulls and all these dumps on people. It would just be like the people the people would benefit, like people have benefit from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP and serious projects that are growing organically. So my contrarian view is don't try to be a unicorn from day one. Try to grow your utility organically, and the price will support it. And the thing is that when you only grow the speculative value, it's a security. Because if there's no utility value and there's only a speculative nature, it's actually a security and it should be regulated under securities law. So you need to focus on actually making that car drivable or that Hermes bag like fancy for your other features. If cars were only speculative and people were only buying them, it would be regulated by the securities law, because that's what they wouldn't have a utility. So it's my call to the industry and to my colleague entrepreneurs is don't listen to all the stakeholders, don't listen to exchanges all the time. Try to grow your product organically, because if you're building for the long run for 4, 5, 10 years, it's a better way to grow. And for sure, in 10 years, your project will not have died out of they will not have died because like your project will have only grown. But if you try to launch at 1 billion, you might fool some people. I think there was somebody who said, no, you can fool one person, you can fool 1 million person one time, but you cannot fool like one person 1 million times. So it's like, when you launch this project, you can fool the people with hype and everything, but honestly, after some time, the castle will fall. So try to grow organically. It's my contrarian view on the industry of people launching projects that are not supported by value. Some are. I think Hyperliquid is, but most aren't.
And it just sounds like wisdom there, right? Shouldn't be a contrarian view, unfortunately. But yeah, man, I hear what you say about the demands from stakeholders and every entrepreneur, what's that $1 billion valuation? And so, yeah, man, the incentives are aligned for a big crash, and we've seen it over and over and over again. So that's a good advice.
Yeah.
Alexis, if someone wants to find you online or hear more about Yellow Network, where can they find you?
So everything on Yellow is the Twitter handle Yellow. That's as easy as it gets. the website is yellow.com for the more like news, and yellow.org for the developers. And myself, I'm on Twitter at Alexis Yellow or LinkedIn.
Good on you. Thank you very much for joining us today. All the best with 2026 and all of the stuff we've been speaking about today. Thanks heaps for keeping the ecosystem afloat with GSR all those years, and looking forward to
Yeah, well, Yellow now. I left GSR 6 years ago, so
that's what I'm talking about. Back in the day, keeping the ecosystem afloat with GSR.
actually,
No one will know. Most people won't know. The kind of stuff that you guys do. Yeah, that was awesome, man. Appreciate it.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off-Chain. We love bringing you great guests like Alexi, and hope we've inspired you to think and learn more about technology, about Web3, about the future, and how we might be a part of building it together. As always, please like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another exciting episode of Off-Chain. Till then, take care.